gonna realize one thing. They didn't find it. Many people search for the truth and never find it. But if you want to know the truth about God, what we gotta do, we got to read the whole.
Hello. We'd like to thank you again for joining us here on the Word of Truth. My name is Daniel, and I'll be the teacher for today, and reading today will be Brother Frank. And as always, we bring you some topic from the Bible. And the title of today's lesson is, "The throne of David shall be no more until he comes whose right it is." What we are going to show you in this lesson is that when the Lord established the nation of Israel, that he set up kings over the nation of Israel. And somewhere, the first king that Israel had, it was a king named Saul. And then after that, there was a king named David. And once David sat on that throne, after that, every king that sat on that throne was considered as sitting on the throne of David. Now, after many years, the kingship ended. And then Israel has not had another king unto this day. And they will not have another king until he comes whose right it is. And we are going to show you whose right it is, because that throne will be established, and it will be established forever at some point. And we are going to show you at what time that throne will be established forever. And we are going to show you who is going to sit on that throne forever. Let's start this lesson out in 2 Samuel chapter 5, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. 2 Samuel 5, and begin at verse 1. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou wast he that leddest out and broughtest in Israel. And the Lord said to thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel.
Now Saul, he was the first king that the nation of Israel had. Then once Saul died, now the Lord is about to establish David as being king over the nation of Israel. But continue reading.
So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah.
So now we find out here, first David reigned in Hebron, but after that he reigned in Jerusalem for some 33 years. And that is where the kingdom was established at. That is where the nation of Israel, or the kings of Israel, reigned from after David's reign. They all reigned from Jerusalem. Let's go now to 1 Kings chapter 2, and we'll begin reading at verse 10. 1 Kings chapter 2, and we'll begin at verse 10. Okay, go ahead and read.
So David slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David.
Now, in other words, he died and he was buried. Now his son Solomon is about to take over his kingdom. Continue reading.
And the days that David reigned over Israel were 40 years. 7 years reigned he in Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem.
Now Jerusalem became the capital of the nation of Israel, and that is where all the kings reigned from up until the time there was a split in the nation. But then after there was a split in the nation, then all of the kings reigned over part of the nation of Israel from Judah, and they reigned from Jerusalem, rather, and then the rest of them reigned from Samaria. But we are dealing with those that sat up on the throne of David. Continue reading.
Then sat Solomon upon the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was established greatly.
Now everybody that sat on the throne after David died, they all was considered as sitting up on the throne of David. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17. And we're going to begin reading at verse 21. Now, the nation of Israel, down through the generations, different kings, they reigned. Like Solomon died and his son reigned, and after his son died, other kings took over that throne. But now we're going to deal down here with the last king that sat on the throne of David here. And we are going to find out that the Lord said that even though after all those generations had passed, that they all was considered as sitting on the throne of David. Let's start reading at Jeremiah chapter 17, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Now, Jeremiah was around during the reign of the last king of Israel, 17 and 21. Go ahead and read, brother.
Thus saith the Lord, take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem.
Now, what the Lord is about to do here, he's about to have Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, destroy the city of Jerusalem, and about to have them to carry Israelites off into bondage here. So now what he's doing is he's trying to get them to repent so that he don't have to do that. So the nation will be allowed to continue on. So now he's telling them, you know, don't bring any burdens in on the Sabbath day, and don't do any work on the Sabbath day, and I'll let this city remain. Go ahead and read.
Neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day. Neither do you any work, but hallow ye the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers.
Go ahead and read.
But they obeyed not, neither inclined their ear, but made their neck stiff, that they might not hear, nor receive instruction.
See what they did? You know, God is trying to get them to repent and start to obey his commandments. But Israel would not hear. Neither did they obey instructions. Now, the Lord is going to let them know, you know, if you would just only repent, then I will allow this city to continue, this nation to continue, and there will be kings sitting up on the throne of David. Continue reading.
24.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, if ye diligently hearken unto me, saith the Lord, to bring in no burden through the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, to do no work therein. Then shall there enter into the gates of this city kings and princes sitting upon the throne of David.
You see, now many generations after David had died, they are still talking about the king sitting up on the throne of David.
Right,
because every king that reigned over the nation of Israel after David's death was considered as sitting up on the throne of David. Now we are dealing with the last one here, but continue. Read a little bit more.
Riding in chariots and on horses.
Go ahead.
They and their princes, the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Go ahead and read.
And this city shall remain forever.
Continue reading.
And they shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the places about Jerusalem, and from the land of Benjamin, and from the plain, and from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings, and sacrifices, and meat offerings, and incense, and bringing sacrifices of praise unto the house of the Lord.
Go ahead and read.
But if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched.
Now this is what the Lord is telling Israel if they refuse to repent and, you know, keep his Sabbath day and keep his commandments and all of that. However, he said, though, you know, if you will obey my commandments and keep the Sabbath and all of that, then there will come kings into Jerusalem sitting up on the throne of David. Israel refused. Therefore, the Lord brought destruction up on the nation of Israel. Let's go over to 2 Chronicles chapter 36, and we'll begin reading at verse 4. And we are going to deal with the last three kings that the nation of Israel had. And after these three kings, then Israel never had another king, and they will never have another king to sit on the throne of David until he comes, whose right it is. And we are going to show you who that is, because you may think, you know, all of this stuff that we are reading now have nothing to do with this generation. Well, it started all the way back then, but we're going to find out that it is going to carry all the way down until the coming of the Lord. And because that's whose right it is, and we are going to show you that. When I say the coming of the Lord, I'm referring to Jesus. And we are going to show you that's whose right it is, because it is given to Jesus to sit up on that throne. And we are going to show you that in this lesson. But we are taking you back first and showing you how the Lord established the throne of David, and how he said that all the kings that would reign after David would sit up on the throne of David. And then once the last king sat up on that throne,